Have you ever questioned why some women who don't have dazzling looks or project a perfect life on social media manage to deeply captivate men that many would consider out of their league? What is it that they possess that makes them irresistible? What strategies do they implement that perhaps you have yet to discover? The answer, though revealing, does not lie in external appearance. It's not about makeup, tight clothing, or memorizing seduction techniques in front of the mirror. It's something far more subtle, yet infinitely more magnetic. It's something Carl Jung understood perfectly. True feminine power lies in the ability to create emotional connection, in knowing how to touch a man's soul before touching his body. And once you internalize this, my dear, everything changes. Many women have grown up with the belief that to make a man fall in love, they must become physically attractive, that they must wait to be desired, pursued, or conquered. But the truth, a transformative truth, is that you don't need to start with the physical to win his complete devotion. In fact, if you learn to connect with a deeper dimension within him, something far beyond the surface, he will surrender completely without even understanding why. Do you know where a man's true center of desire lies? It's not where you've been led to believe. It's his mind. That's where true longing is born, where his insecurities live, his ambitions dwell, where his most intense experiences and unspoken desires reside. It's in that intimate and often chaotic space where you can enter if you master his emotional language. And Carl Jung constantly reminded us that to change what we attract, we must shift the energy we project. And this applies perfectly here. Let me reveal something that is rarely explained with clarity. A man can give himself physically to many, but emotionally, he opens up only to the one who touches something beyond his surface. That's why, after an intense connection, he won't remember so much what you did, but how you made him feel. That, my dear, is true influence. That's what makes him think of you, even in your absence. And if you've ever felt frustrated because you give so much, yet receive so little, if you feel like you're doing everything right, but still can't get that man to truly commit, then you don't need to change your appearance or become more accommodating. What you need is to learn how to connect with his mind before his body, to venture into his inner world. A world few dare to explore. But you can do it. Stay with me until the end, because in this presentation, you will not only discover how to awaken his deepest interest without physical contact, I'll also share expressions, practical examples, and an exclusive tool that you can use in your next interaction to become truly unforgettable. This isn't abstract theory. It's psychology applied to relationships from a conscious feminine perspective, inspired by the principles of emotional transformation that Carl Jung taught. Let's begin. There is a powerful reality that few accept, because it challenges all the conditioning we've received since childhood. The male body is not the point of deepest connection with you. It's not his most sensitive part, nor the one that creates the strongest bond. His true desire, the one that drives him, the one that transforms him, is born in his mind. Yes, that inner universe full of thoughts, expectations, hidden fears, silenced desires, and contradictions. That's where true alchemy happens, because once you understand how his mental world works, everything becomes clear. You no longer need to compete with anyone or exhaust yourself trying. What you are doing is cultivating emotions, awakening curiosity, and generating desire from the invisible. And believe me, that kind of connection leaves an unforgettable mark. There is a huge difference between being physically attractive and becoming unforgettable to him. Anyone can catch his gaze for a moment, but only someone who stimulates his imagination, emotions, and his need to feel valued and admired will remain in his heart. Carl Jung said that everything we give returns multiplied. And when you offer presence, authenticity, and confident feminine energy, it comes back to you, transformed into genuine love. So how do you connect with the male mind? With anticipation, not immediacy. With subtle hints, not full disclosure. The male mind, like the female mind, responds more intensely to mystery than to the obvious. It's not about expressing everything. It's about creating space for him to imagine, to long for more, to evoke your presence, even in your absence. Play with the implicit, with pauses, with glances that say more than 1,000 words. Tease him with meaningful silences. Make him wonder what's behind your words. The secret lies in making him feel emotions, because a man doesn't fall in love with your actions. He falls in love with how you make him feel through them. You can be direct, spontaneous, tender, or passionate, but if you don't touch his mind, if you don't awaken emotional responses, you'll just be another fleeting memory. On the other hand, if you make him feel understood, admired, challenged, intrigued, then you will live in his thoughts, even when he's surrounded by others. Do you see why I say the mind is the true starting point? Because that's where real desire is born, where lasting interest grows, where the fantasies are built that drive him to seek you without you having to chase him. Connect with his mind, and his body will naturally follow. And if you've understood the power hidden in these words, you're about to discover something even deeper. Because when a connection begins in the invisible, the visible becomes inevitable. While many keep searching for answers on the surface, you will begin to connect from a much more intimate place, his inner world. It's essential you know this now. If you only touch the surface, the responses you'll get will also be surface level, automatic, and eventually monotonous. But when you dare to explore his emotional world with sensitivity, intelligence, and full presence, everything changes. Because there is something men cannot explain, yet they cannot ignore either. A woman who knows how to communicate with his soul before touching his body. While others focus their energy on perfecting their appearance, you will awaken his desire through the subtle. A single word, spoken at the right moment, a fearless, sustained gaze, a pause filled with intention, a comment that enters gently but deeply and lingers in his mind for hours. And that, incredible as it may seem, can be infinitely more captivating than any touch. Because there truly is something no man can resist. A woman who knows how to stimulate his mind before touching his skin. And that woman can be you. If you choose to stop seeking from a place of insecurity and begin expressing yourself from your inner power. Just as Carl Jung taught, when you heal the way you think and feel, the world begins to respond to you differently. This includes your emotional connections too. Now that you understand the mind is the true center of desire, knowing it isn't enough. What truly matters is how you use that knowledge to your advantage. And this is where most people go off track. Some believe it's enough to give compliments or repeat phrases like, "You look great today." But that doesn't touch anything deep. What really activates his interest is your ability to play with his imagination, create emotional tension, and leave him with a phrase he can't stop thinking about. That, my dear, is done using 3 subtle but incredibly powerful tools. And if you learn to use them with grace, you'll become unforgettable to him. The first way to connect with his mind is through words that paint images. We're not talking about empty lines or romantic cliches. We're talking about suggestions that, without being explicit, spark a whole narrative in his mind. For example, instead of saying, "I'm so into you," say something like, "There's something about you that makes me think things I probably shouldn't." See the difference? You're not giving anything away directly, but at the same time, you're saying everything. He's the one who fills in the blanks, and that's the beauty of it. Not laying it all out, but letting him imagine, wonder, and desire. Because when a man starts building mental stories with you, you stop being just another woman. You become his favorite story. The second way to connect with his mind is through strategic silence. And it might sound simple, but it's an incredibly powerful tool. We often feel the urge to fill every gap with words, as if silence means something's wrong. But it doesn't. When used right, silence creates mystery, tension, desire. Picture this. You're having a conversation. You lean in and say something bold, something unexpected, and then you go quiet. You hold eye contact. You don't add more, don't explain, don't backtrack. That moment becomes magnetic. His mind starts working overtime. He wonders if you'll say more, if you'll act, or if you're simply savoring the moment. That pause becomes the thought he can't shake. Carl Jung often reminded us that even what is unspoken carries meaning. And when you learn to trust the power of silence, you realize you don't need to convince anyone. You just need to resonate. The third way to connect with his mind is by mastering the art of almost. What does that mean? That not everything that begins needs to be finished. There's a unique pull in what remains unfinished. It's that moment when he leans in, expecting a kiss, and instead, you whisper something in his ear and pull away with a mysterious smile. It didn't happen, but almost. And that almost becomes unforgettable. Why does it work? Because he expected closure, and you gave him a cliffhanger. You left the story open. You gave his mind space to imagine what could have happened. And that's often more powerful than 1,000 physical gestures. Because now he's captivated, not by what happened, but by what he's still craving. And when you step away, he's not left with satisfaction. He's left with hunger. And that's the secret. It's not about satisfying him right away. It's about creating emotional hunger, about becoming that lingering thought, even when he tries to distract himself. But these three tools, the suggestive word, the provocative silence, and the almost that intensifies desire, aren't conventional techniques. They are emotional artistry, conscious feminine expression. Very few women use them intentionally because they require presence, inner confidence, and emotional mastery. But if you're here, it means you're ready to stop being just another woman and start being unforgettable. It's not about having the perfect body, or saying the most romantic line, or making the most calculated gesture. It's about learning how to slip into his imagination without asking permission, to touch emotions he can't control or explain. And when you do that, there's no more competition. You're playing on a different level, a dimension where the energy you radiate speaks louder than any words. Carl Jung said that when we cultivate self-love, it naturally reflects outward. And in that state, you become magnetic, unmistakable, desired. And the most beautiful part? All of this already lives inside you. You don't need to force it. You just need to remember it. A woman who refuses to settle for being seen longs to be felt. A woman who doesn't seek validation radiates authenticity. And that's where your real power lives. When you learn to connect with a man emotionally, you realize something that completely transforms the way you relate. You don't need more strategies to be liked. You don't need to pretend to be something you're not. You just need to be aligned with yourself. And do you know why? Because men may desire many, but they only remember one. The one who touched their soul. And this isn't about becoming some master of emotional manipulation. Far from it. It's about raising your energy, learning to see beyond words, cultivating a presence so magnetic it can't be ignored. Exactly as Carl Jung taught, when you love yourself deeply, you raise your frequency, and with it, the quality of love you attract. Now I want you to reflect on this. Every conversation is an opportunity, Every glance a bridge, every silence a message. When you speak with him, listen beyond the literal. What is he holding back from expressing? What emotions is he containing? What fear hides behind his confident posture? Men, even if they don't show it, long to feel understood too. They want to be admired, seen, and valued for who they are, not just for what they've achieved. And when you can truly perceive his inner world, not to fix it, but to accept it, he experiences something rare, serenity. And there's nothing more attractive to an emotionally mature man than a woman who brings him peace without losing her spark of mystery. But here's something even more powerful. Don't just awaken his desire, earn his respect. Because when a man respects you, he doesn't play with you. He doesn't question your worth. He doesn't offer crumbs. A man who respects you wants to make you feel safe, valued, and important. And to get to that place, you must first clearly define who you are and how you deserve to be treated. It all starts with you, with your energy, with your boundaries, with your ability to say, this yes and this no, from a place of self-love. Do you see now how everything is connected? And here's another essential truth. Don't be afraid to leave a mark. Sometimes we think we need to keep things light, not go too deep, not show interest, so we don't scare someone off. But true magnetism doesn't come from hiding. It comes from revealing yourself with grace and confidence. You are not here to beg for scraps of attention. You are here to create an experience, to be that unforgettable woman. Why? Because you touched something no one else dared to, his most vulnerable emotional dimension. So the next time you share a moment with him, ask yourself, am I seeking validation, or am I expressing my truth? Am I chasing a reaction, or leaving an authentic emotional impression? Am I acting out of fear, or from my power? The answer to those questions will determine whether you become a fleeting memory or an unforgettable presence. And never forget, what you attract is deeply tied to what you believe you deserve. That's why working on your self-worth isn't just a minor detail. It's the foundation of everything. As Carl Jung said, self-love is the greatest gift you can give yourself. From there, everything begins to evolve. So celebrate yourself, respect yourself, love yourself. Because the more you do, the more you'll attract those who see your light, not just your reflection. From the moment you stop seeking externally what can only be built internally, your energy begins to shift. And the most extraordinary part? You don't need to announce it. You don't have to declare that you've changed. It's felt. Men notice it, even if they can't explain it. It's something that radiates from you. It's your new vibration. It's a calmness that seduces, a presence that unsettles those who were only prepared for the version of you that no longer exists. When you become a woman who not only knows how to listen, but also how to observe, you begin to notice subtleties in conversations that once went unnoticed. You pick up on how he responds to certain topics, how his body language shifts when you mention something emotional, how he unconsciously opens up when you make him feel safe. And there, in those tiny details, is where you can plant seeds of desire from an authentic place, not a manipulative one. You don't need to control him. You only need to connect with his most human side. Because genuine desire doesn't come from control or empty mind games. It's born from real emotional connection. When a man feels he can be fully himself around you, without masks, without pressure, something releases within him. He relaxes, his defenses lower, and from that space, he truly sees you. He feels you. And that kind of connection is so rare, it simply can't be forgotten. And you know what else generates desire in him? A woman who feels comfortable in her own skin, not because she's perfect, but because she has nothing to hide. a woman who expresses herself without apologizing, who sets boundaries without aggression, who knows when to move forward and when to wait. That woman doesn't need to seduce. She naturally attracts. Remember Carl Jung's words, "What we think of ourselves becomes our truth." And if you see yourself as powerful, free, desirable, and worthy of love, that is exactly what you will project. There is no scent more captivating than healthy self-worth. That's why here comes something few dare to apply. True seduction begins with you, with your inner dialogue, with how you treat yourself, with how you look at yourself in the mirror. Because when you see yourself with admiration, when you truly recognize your worth, you no longer accept just anything. You don't settle for lukewarm attention or emotionally unavailable men. From that new energy, you choose differently, and that truly transforms your relationships. When you're with him, instead of seeking his approval, observe him with curiosity. Listen with all your senses. Perceive him. Don't rush to fill silences. Don't respond impulsively. Breathe. Speak only when you truly feel moved to say something, not when you feel the need to please. And if at some point he pulls away, don't see it as a defeat. See it as a sign. Because the woman who has learned to reach a man's mind doesn't beg to stay in his life. She knows she doesn't have to convince anyone to be valued. The man who is ready for something meaningful with you will sense it from the very beginning. So free yourself from everything. Free yourself from the anxiety of needing to be enough. Free yourself from the obsession with triggering reactions. Free yourself from the urgency to control everything. Your worth does not lie in how he responds to you. It lies in how you choose to stay connected to yourself, without losing yourself for anyone. And if there's one thing I hope you take from all of this, it's that you have more power than you realize. Not the power to control a man, but the power to guide a connection from a place of emotional authenticity, from your center. And that beautiful soul is something no one can replicate. So continue nurturing that version of yourself who speaks clearly, who isn't afraid of her intensity, who leaves a mark without effort, and above all, who understands that seduction is not an external act. It's a way of being. Because once you become the woman who knows how to touch a man's mind, you no longer need to raise your voice to be heard or run to be followed. Your presence is enough. Your authenticity is enough. And that, precisely, is the kind of energy that turns superficial connections into unforgettable experiences. And if you've made it this far, all I can say is thank you. Thank you for giving yourself this moment, for allowing yourself to listen, reflect, and open your mind and heart to a new way of connecting. If something I shared today resonated with you, if it made you feel seen, understood, or simply left you thinking, then it was already worth it. Always remember, your value is not measured by how much others desire you, but by how deeply you respect yourself. And when you begin to relate from your inner power, from your authenticity, from that self-love that Carl Jung so often spoke of, not only do you transform, but the way the world responds to you transforms too. Thank you for staying until the end of this presentation. If you found this content valuable, I invite you to leave a positive comment or appreciation. It helps me immensely to continue creating with passion. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, now is the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next, because what's coming will go even deeper. Sending you a warm embrace, full of light, and I'll see you very soon.